and then I'm going to welcome you. So thank you all for coming. We have 44 windows, more than 44 people. This is so exciting. Today, our subject is Jewish Scouting on the council level. We have two 30-minute sessions. The first one is forming and supporting, because you have to do both, forming and supporting a local Jewish committee on scouting. And the second is using that local Jewish committee on scouting to benefit the council so that the Jewish presence in the council is felt as a positive contributor by the council. The faculty for the first half include Phil Sternberg, who is the chair of the Northeast Region Jewish Committee on Scouting. Thank you, Phil. Also, Rabbi Peter Hyman, if he's here. Rabbi Hyman yesterday had a funeral that he'd had to do, so I don't know if Rabbi Hyman is here or not. Ted Goldstein from the Heart of America Council, and myself, because I've been involved in the local Jewish Committee on Scouting for 2 decades or more. I wish I had Mike Crothers. I don't know how many of you know Mike Crothers. Mike is in Dayton, Ohio, and Mike is the example of a Jewish committee of one. So if you all are sitting there going, you know, we don't have a Jewish committee in our council, and I'm the only one who cares, you can't have a Jewish committee of one, I'm here to tell you that if you have to, you can have a Jewish committee of one, and Mike Crothers is the best example of that. But most Jewish committees have more than one. So without further ado, Phil Sternberg will start off. He is the chair of the Northeast Region Jewish Committee on Scouting, and he's going to start us on talking about how do you form and then how do you support a local Jewish committee on scouting. If Rabbi Hyman is here, I'm going to call on him second. Ted is going to talk about some particular activities that really benefit the entire council, like Sophim, and then I will come in and add whatever is available. So final reminder is that we have 46 windows open. Everybody should be on mute, and I can do that. And so I'm going to mute you all like that. And now I'm going to look for Phil Sternberg, and I'm going to unmute Phil Sternberg. Oh, he's unmuted, good. That way we won't have any distractions. So if you want to talk, you can unmute yourselves. And of course you can use the chat room, and I will monitor the chat room. So there's a chat in here for Mike Nathan, if he is on. If he isn't, I will make sure he gets this chat. Meanwhile, Phil Sternberg, over to you.
I'm here.
Okay, Mike, there's a chat for you.
So thank you, Norm, and I really appreciate what you've done over the during the planning process and getting everybody involved in our sessions. This is really remarkable, and I'm enjoying it immensely. And I guess we're halfway through, so I'll try to be quick, and I want other people to talk as well. Norm mentioned Jewish committees of one, and I think we probably have several of those examples. Barry Hampman from New Hampshire, are you a Jewish committee of one, or do you have a real committee?
If you count my wife, we have 2, and I have a friend who helps sometimes, so it's sometimes 3.
Okay.
What a luxury.
Yeah, and that's not unusual in many of our councils. And the interesting thing is, even councils that have perhaps larger Jewish populations, the committees are not really very strong. And a good example of that is Greater New York councils. And you know, there are many Jews still living in the 5 boroughs of New York, but there are not many Jewish units, and there certainly is a sparsity of activities that are associated with you know, Jewish scouting. So the council that I'm in is the National Capital Area Council, and we have about 3 or 4 troops and maybe 3 packs that are could identify themselves as Jewish units. but most of the scouts who are Jewish in our council, and we have an okay sized Jewish population, of course, are not in Jewish units, and they're spread out over a large geographical area. So it's a really interesting story. I didn't have to start the Jewish Committee on Scouting, but the fellow who was the chairman for many, many years stepped down, and he offered the position to anybody on the committee or in the community that wanted to take it. And I didn't want to see the actual Jewish Committee on Scouting, the local Jewish Committee on Scouting, disappear. So I stepped up and said, okay, I'll help out. And then later, when Bruce Chudikoff asked me to, I was actually recommended by Bruce Strager to take over as his follow-on for the Northeast region. And Bruce Chudikoff said, well, you can't be the chairman of the local Jewish Committee on Scouting and also be the chairman of the Northeast Region Committee on Scouting. So I had to find somebody who would take over and do the job. And what I said is, I would continue to help out. And so I've continued to be very, very active. I think, as we all know, in scouting, the key to having members and having participation is having activities, doing something. If you're just a committee in name, then you're not going to attract many people. And the other thing that I've learned over the last few years, and the rest of you can kind of chime in, is that it's worthwhile working with neighboring councils and neighboring local Jewish committees. So if you let other people know, not only in your council, about the activities that your Jewish committee is planning or doing, and get them to participate, it will really enhance your program as well. I think the most difficult thing that I faced is trying to convince some of the religious institutions, our synagogues and temples, to be active in sponsoring Jewish units. Some of them used to have Jewish units, and those have gone away. And the people, the adults who were in those units, their sons have grown up, because most of them were before the time of girls in scouting. Their sons have grown up, and they decided that they've done their share, and they left it open for other people to step in, and other people just don't step in. And I'm not sure how to solve that problem. I think part of the problem is not related to us or being, us in general. I think that's a problem that's universal in scouting. And it's the fact that we want younger people to show up and to participate and to bring in ideas and to bring in scouts into the Jewish community. So among the things that we do, and I'll let others talk about it too, is we have been conducting a merit badge fair and a religious emblems workshop. We started doing training for adults who are, unable to attend our Saturday University of Scouting. And so we'll ask the instructors of some of the courses to teach those courses to Jewish scouters at an event that we hold on a Sunday. We've done other things. We've done Tu B'Shavat Seders, which have been so much fun, and something I would highly recommend that you look into. It's easy to do, and there's actually a whole script and an outline of how to do it on the National Jewish Committee's website, and I would urge you to download that. And that has been a lot of fun for me personally. I've enjoyed doing that. And we've done many, many other things. One of the the closest neighboring council is the Baltimore Area Council. And I've reached out to them, and I've been working with Ted and Pinky Severe and Rabbi Tobisman. Some of you know him. He's the chair of the local Jewish Committee on Scouting. And they have some activities that they work with their religious relationships committee and participate as part of that group. They've also, been very active in hosting some of the training, like the Wood Badge courses that people who are observant can attend. And I think a lot of people in the country, at least in the Northeast, have been very, very appreciative of that. So I will stop here. And is Rabbi Hyman on the conference call yet? Do you know?
I don't think so. So,
So
what
what
we'll
I'd like,
do-
yeah, what I'd like to do is maybe, excuse me, Norm, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
So what I'd like to do is I'd like to open it up, and I'll call on people who I know have some really good experience and get them to chime in on what they see as really key to having an effective local Jewish committee. So first person is my predecessor, Bruce Strager. Bruce, would you like to talk a little bit about Suffolk County and what you guys have done?
Sure. Everything you said is absolutely correct. It's always nice to do events with your neighboring councils and neighboring Jewish committees. We do it with the Theodore Roosevelt Council. And we also have people coming from the Boston area, like Howard Spielman comes down to our camp and lets us know when he's going to be there. The biggest thing in starting a Jewish committee is having people that really want to do that, and they want to be involved in the Jewish community, and they know other people that could help as well. It's difficult as a committee of one. It's always better with more. In Suffolk County, we're fortunate. We have about 10 or 12 people that are like the nucleus of our committee. One of the big things I just want to mention that helps us with all the programs we have. We have a Scout Shabbat program where last year we did 15 synagogues with Scout Shabbat. 2 were on Saturday morning and 13 were on Friday night. We also have a awards breakfast, and we have a conclave or a keenus. And we also have an Eagle Scout program where we honor all Eagle Scouts in Suffolk County with a nice certificate and patch. In addition to that, we have a worldwide Eagle certificate that we email to people that when they request the certificate, we just send them an email of the certificate and they can print it out themselves. The biggest thing is, where do you find the Jewish youth? And what we've been lucky with is that anytime you have a youth that has done their religious emblem, we always ask them and their parents to be satellites in their synagogues. And that's how we've acquired so many synagogues for Scout Shabbat. Unfortunately, we've had about 4 or 5 synagogues close their doors in the past year or two. Otherwise, probably would have been close to 20. The other thing that we do is we offer a lot of different things. We make beautiful patches that the kids love and everybody loves. We have a program that invites everybody, not just Jewish youth, so that we get the mix of all the different religions. But we always have a Jewish theme that we base everything we do on. So like, for instance, one year we had a theme in our conclave of Jerusalem of gold. So one of the things we did was we panned for gold. We actually had them doing that. There's a lot of good things that you could do, and association to get faith involved is a great tool. Take something in scouting and associate it with the faith and do something around that. Like 10 Commandment hike. I dressed up as Moses one year, and I led the 10 Commandment hike dressed up as Moses around the country. Not only did we do that, but we gave bags to all of the people at the back of the line so that they can clean up if they saw any garbage on the street. We made the place better than what it was when we found it. There's just so many things you could do. I also want to mention to everybody that I offer a CD or a thumb drive now of a lot of good information that could be helpful. And what I'll do is I'm going to type my email address in the chat. And if anybody would like a copy of that, all I ask is a few dollars to cover the cost of the thumb drive and the mailing. And you could have a lot of information that I think will be helpful in new Jewish committees, old Jewish committees, any type of committee. There's fun stuff on it. There's songs, there's jokes, there's who's on first is on there. So there's just so many things that add to the program. I think I've said it a lot. I can keep on going, but let somebody else talk.
Thanks, Bruce.
Thank you, Bruce. I really appreciate that. And you've been a good friend and a good mentor. I want to go to Dan Chasen. Dan, are you willing to talk a little bit about what's happening in northern New Jersey and Jewish Scout? You know, there are lots of Jews in New Jersey, and you have several councils, and you represent a pretty significant part of the Jewish committee. And maybe you can talk about what your experiences has been.
Okay, well, if you're talking about the Jewish committee in my home council, Northern New Jersey Council, we're just starting to reorganize this committee. We really haven't had a very successful committee for a number of years, and together with our Scout executive and other people who from other committees, we just had a meeting last week, and we're definitely moving towards having a functional and vibrant committee. I guess I can add two other things. I think that one thing that's really important for a local Jewish committee to do is to help try to organize new Jewish sponsored units. And we haven't done that yet, but that's something that I'm definitely hoping that our committee will try to do. I've been for many years the scoutmaster of the troop at Teaneck Jewish Center, which is the only Shomer Shabbat Boy Scout or Scouts BSA troop in our area. There are others in the council in different areas, but this is the only one in Bergen County, let's put it that way. It's part of the council. The other thing which I have done, I've been involved with for many, many years, is our Kinus. We have a New Jersey Kinus every year, Memorial Day weekend, when we invite scouts, scouters, and families to come for a wonderful weekend at our Camp Nobi Bosco. Unfortunately, we couldn't have it this year because of the coronavirus, but in past years, it attracted like 300 people. And it's been a very successful thing. And that here, a number of councils get together and we get people from all over the area. So that's something that a local committee could try to work on doing, especially with other councils getting involved.
Thank you really so much. I appreciate your chiming in. Let's go to a different part of the country. Alan Smason, would you like to talk a little bit about what's going on in New Orleans or maybe the South?
Well, I wish I could tell you that things were swimming down here, but you know, of course, we've got the coronavirus. I've had several opportunities to work with my own council, but they become a little bit more problematic. And I think it's really a matter of a personality problem with the top level. Our council is now attempting to do all of their work without professionals, only paraprofessionals. They have no boots on the ground, as it were. And it's making it very difficult for us to be able to maintain membership levels, much less to start a new unit. So I've been trying my best to do what I can, but the more or less, I would say the resentment that people have and the rising of the dues, which we touched on earlier, is making people become fast disenchanted with the prospects of keeping their kids in scouting, or for them to continue being involved with scouting until a change is made, at least at the upper level of the council management for us. Then that's on us locally. But we've had some wonderful experiences here in the council. I'll be touching on some of those coming up in the next half hour with our 10 Commandments hikes, et cetera. But you know, the South is, and Mike Nathan's on the call, he might be able to add something to that. But you know, the South is so spread out, unlike the Northeast, where there's a higher concentration of Jewish population. It makes it a lot more difficult for us to get together. I have had in the past, prior to Hurricane Katrina, some really wonderful events, Kinasim, where we had people come in from as far away as Tennessee, Alabama, and Georgia, and meet sort of at a central location in Alabama. But unfortunately, you know, not those days have sort of gone by now due to the fact that, you know, Katrina kind of upset things here 15 years ago. And we've really not had a great deal of focus on the key scene that we had in the past. So I'll just leave it at that.
Alan, I'd like to ask you a question. Do you think that information technology and J Scouts and the other things that you're so involved with are a mechanism maybe for reaching out or contacting or making connections with Jewish Scouts
They
in a
they
very,
absolutely
very
are.
wide area?
They absolutely are, and I will tell you that what we're doing now is our IT committee, much of which has been involved with dealing with how do we approach this pandemic, especially when you've got virtual meetings, when you've got people who can't go out on campouts, or if they are going out on campouts, they're having to socially distance. These are very problematic situations for scouts, which normally run up and down and congregate around campfires and have great camaraderie and friendship, and we don't have to worry about viruses and things of that sort, pandemics. But essentially, we think that what we're looking to do now is to actually set up a mechanism through something that we're dealing with called Green Rope, which is a CRM, normally used to deal with sales, but we're attempting to make this into a tool for Jewish scouting in which we'll be able to actually do outreach to all of the individual committees across the country all at once, and allow our regional chairs to have overview of all of those. So Norm is a regional chair, Mike Nathan is a regional chair, Phil Yu is a regional chair, and of course Frank is a regional chair. We'll all be able to hopefully soon put their fingers on the pulse of what's happening and be able to send out emails through Green Rope. And that'll be better than J Scouts, because it'll be a direct form of communication similar to Constant Contact and MailChimp, things of that sort.
Yeah,
Thanks, Alan.
I think so.
So
Yeah.
I'm going to ask the call on Ted Goldstein, if you would, and then give me 1 minute to summarize.
Okay.
So Ted Goldstein is from the Heart of America Council, and he's muted. Let's see if I can find a way to unmute him.
I think I'm unmuted. Am I unmuted?
You're good.
Yep.
You can hear me. Okay. I don't want to repeat other stuff that's already been said, but and a lot of what I have to talk about is the first thing I want to just address is the 3 regions other than Northeast are different than the Northeast. Northeast has a higher concentration of Jewish units and programming suitable for that. Once you get out of the Northeast, you get into the Midwest, the South, and the West. You have smaller Jewish communities, and you have smaller Jewish participation. So it's almost like a different kind of a situation to address. Our council, Heart of America Council, out of the Kansas City area, has had a very long established Jewish Committee on Scouting. Sometimes it's fairly strong, sometimes it's not so strong, but it's always had a presence. Some councils have strong Jewish communities. So outside of the Northeast, some like Chicago and Los Angeles, Texas, have strong Jewish communities that can function well with an active Jewish community on scouting. Some are not so strong, which takes a lot of the one-man type Jewish committees to make it work. And some have very minimal. You go to North Dakota or South Dakota or Idaho, whatever, you have virtually very, very little Jewish presence, period. So you really have to combine councils to try to make that kind of thing work. The one thing I really would like to talk about is Jewish presence within the councils. It has the direct factor on the Jewish Committee on Jewish Committee on Scoutings within those councils. The councils themselves, for the most part, would like to see active Jewish Committee on Scoutings because the purpose is to bring more kids into scouting and this type of thing. If there is no Jewish presence, scouting basically becomes non-denominational Christian for the most part. And if you don't have a Jewish presence in there, within your council, it gets more and more difficult to do it. So per Norm, actually I'll give Norm the credit on this, we have really pushed to maintain within our council, a large presence of Judaic, so to speak, or Jewish presence. One of the districts within our council does their roundtables at the Jewish Community Center. You walk into our council office and there's a Christmas tree at Christmas, but there's also a menorah at Christmas. And a lot of the councils don't even have that, type thing, but it takes the committee to go in and say, let's put this up, let's do this, this is how it works, kind of thing. We've used the Tzofim program, which I'll talk about tomorrow in a little bit more depth. The Tzofim, which is the Israeli Scout program, has a friendship caravan. We've been bringing the friendship caravan into our community, as several other communities have. We actually go to camps with it. About 4 or 5 years ago, we approached the council of taking the Tzofim friendship caravan to one of our scout camps, and they agreed to do it. The next year, we have 2 camps. The next year, they asked, what about the other camp? They really enjoyed having us there, and it's partially funded by the council. The only other thing I would really like to add with that, tied in with Tzofim, is there is a Tzofim movement in the United States, not the Friendship Caravan, but actually Israeli Scout network set up in the United States, just like there's BSA or scouting BSA, whatever we're calling now, in Europe, kind of thing. There are actually Jewish units that are members of the Israel Scout Federation in the major cities. That's, in New York, Chicago, Los Angeles, Miami, Texas. Maybe they could be incorporated in helping the American Jewish Scouting program by trying to integrate and communicate with those units, which the information is available through Tzofim in New York. Just an idea to throw out to try to get some things going. The other thing that we've concentrated on a little bit, the Jewish presence kind of thing. A couple of years ago, we had a major outing at the racetrack, automobile racetrack here in town. It happened to fall on Sukkot, so Norm organized and set up a sukkah out at the facility, and I believe Norm can correct me on that. That a lot of, it was very not popular, but a lot of people came in just to see what's going on with this canvas shack that got put up. But again, it is a Jewish presence that's there. We also do a lot of fundraising within our council, Jewish Committee on Scouting. We pay for the religious awards. We maintain our chapel at one of the Boy Scout camps, or one of the scouting camps. We partially fund the Tzofim program coming into the Kansas City area, along with our council. We are in process of hoping to raise enough money that we can reestablish a scholarship program for kids going to Jamboree or Scout Camp that need the financial assistance. That's about all I got to say. If there's any other questions, just let me know.
Thank you, Ted. All right, I'm just going to take half a minute to summarize because everybody has said everything, and there's been a lot of good chat in the chat room. So you can go there and take a look at some of the comments as well. So I would say if you're thinking about strengthening your Jewish Committee on Scouting or starting a Jewish Committee on Scouting of one, you want to do it, but nobody else is around. Visibility and communication is really the #1 key. Yes, eventually you're going to form units and support Jewish Scouts. Yes, eventually you're going to fundraise, but at the beginning, it's about Jewish visibility at the council level. And that starts with the calendar of holidays. And you become the resource for the council on Jewish holidays. And you have to do it proactively. They'll forget to come to you. So you have to contact the council exec periodically and remind him 2 years in advance of the council, of the calendar of Jewish holidays, and for that matter of other holidays. But you need to be the one who's visible. So somebody will say, oh, well, there is a Jewish committee. It's Shalinda Young, it's John Line, it's whoever. You have to be the Jewish Committee on Scouting until you recruit. So that's just a summary.
Hey,
Let's
Norm,
thank our
I'd like to add
presenters.
one more thing to what you
Please.
said, and that is, what's so amazing about what we've done with these sessions is the fact that everybody realizes there are so many resources out there that can help you. So don't be afraid to contact anybody, because most of the people that I know in the Jewish community in Scouting are more than happy to help. And, you know, so if you have some concerns or want to know how things can get done, there are people who can help you.
So let's everybody put up your applause hands to thank the presenters here. Phil Sternberg from the Northeast region, Ted Goldstein from the Heart of America Council. And we're going to move to the second session, almost on time, CW. So this session is headed off by C.W. Kramer, who is the chair of the Jewish Committee on Scouting in Pittsburgh and past member of the National Jewish Committee on Scouting. Alan Smason, who's the chair of the Southeast Louisiana Committee on Scouting in New Orleans, and Howard Prager, who is the chair of the Northeast Illinois Council Committee on Scouting in the Chicago area. They're going to talk about what you can do as a Jewish committee that will be helpful and perceived as helpful to your local council. So CW, I think you're going to start off.
Hi, I'm having a small technical glitch, and what we're going to do is I'm going to turn it over to Alan, and then Alan, when you're done, I'll come back in, and I need to reboot my computer, Norm. So,
and
Alan?
you should be able to share, both of you. I've put you so that you can share.
Okay, thank you.
Alan
you're on.
Mason from New Orleans.
Thank you, CW. Thank you, Norm. Well, I'm just going to start off. The main focus of what I'm going to be talking about right now is the ability for us to work with our councils by essentially, and I'm hoping that people will be able to see this. Can everybody see this?
Yes.
Okay, great. This is the tips for putting on a successful 10 Commandments hike or walk of faith. And one of the things I wanted to mention is how important it is for us not only to be diverse and open, but also to talk about how it is that we interface with the other religions, how if we're respectful of them, they will be respectful of us, and that we will be basically on the same level. In our council, Jewish troops don't exist, unfortunately. We've had a Jewish pack essentially that was run that because of some problems in the past is no longer extant. But we are still able as a Jewish faith group to put on our 10 Commandments hike through the Jewish Committee on Scouting. Again, I'm here from New Orleans. Again, those of you who are interested and don't know, just very quickly, 10 Commandments hikes or walks usually incorporate Judeo-Christian religions and can also include the Islamic faith. Walks of faith are definitely more inclusive, and they reach out to those religions who are not necessarily Judeo-Christian, Sikhism, Buddhism, Shinto, Zoroastrianism, and even the Baha'i faith. One of the things I wanted to talk about is using the kudu horn. The kudu horn is a natural fit. This is the traditional wood badge horn that we use, but it's also a Jewish ritual object. If you use the Yemenite horn that you can see, that long extended horn, which is essentially, I think, from a kudu, it's a natural fit to designate that, and also to use that for the hike leader. Now, yes, when I've led the hikes, I've oftentimes been the hike leader, but not always. You see, what happens is we use that shofar to call everybody and get them really excited at the very beginning. We have one of our clergy call out the various blasts of Tekiah, Shivarim, Teruah, and Tekiah Gedolah, which are traditional at Rosh Hashanah time. And it's done with respect to the religion. Then, of course, whoever has that kudu horn, he is the hike leader, or she is the hike leader, as it may be. The hike leader is the person who enters and exits at each house of worship first, and then exits so that they lead that hike onto the next house of worship. And no one, it is understood, may pass that hike leader at any time. And then as soon as the hike is over, we use that final Tekiah Gedolah to signify that the hike has ended. And then again, some people wait for that last blast of the shofar, the kudu horn, to essentially signify that it is over. Now, one of the things, again, being respectful. When you're putting on a 10 Commandments hike or walk of faith, due to differences in the numbering of the 10 Commandments of the 10 Commandments hike, be forewarned that there are slight differences in the way it's interpreted from the original Hebrew to the Latin, to English, etc. There are therefore a Jewish commandment, if you will, I am the Lord thy God who brought you out of Egypt, instead of thou shalt have no gods before me first. And then there's also the commandment that the Catholics have of thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife in addition to thy neighbor's possession. So keep that in mind. If you're going to do these, I suggest you get some styrofoam board. It costs about $10 a shot, about $100, $110, I guess, if you talk about the 11th. But it is a cheap way to do it, and it's a beautiful symbol of the hike. Again, people love to carry the commandments into the various houses of worship. And again, always have one ready to go. When you're going to the stop, you go and you say, okay, what's the next stop commandment? We know that. Again, we refer to stops. Why do we do that? Because of the commandments being numbered differently in different religions, to be respectful and inclusive of everybody. We want to make sure that they essentially will talk about the stop, the first stop, the second stop, the third stop, rather than say the first commandment, the second commandment, the third commandment, etc. Let's go on again. Just keep that in mind. Be inclusive. Now, when we get ready to talk to the groups and we need them to quiet down, we of course use the Scout sign. I always incorporate both the Cub Scout and the Scouts BSA and venturing sign, because since 2014, the ventures have gone to the what used to be the Boy Scout, now Scouts BSA sign. That's the way you get quiet. It works wonderfully. Use the hike also for religious presentations. You have to, again, keep in mind, this is a presentation that was made for the St. Andrew's Episcopal Church. This is the St. George Award presented by the Episcopal Church directly to their rector at one of the churches. And I also had the good fortune to be able to present a Jewish Eagle Scout certificate to Rabbi Uri Topolowski, who was my rabbi, who comes from Silver Spring, Maryland, who had never received a Jewish Eagle Scout certificate that we offer through the Jewish Committee on Scouting. What we do is we highlight Judaism. We elevate Judaism with a lot of people. A lot of times they're not going to be able to see things like a Torah scroll unrolled, and the rabbi here pointing out where the 10 Commandments is in Exodus. In Shemot. In many cases, it's the very first time that Scouts and their parents are in a Jewish house of worship. So we want to point out the things that make a difference, such as the Ner Tamid, the Bima, the Aaron HaKodesh. These are various things that are important. Also, make sure you get the local press and the media to get involved. A lot of times, a slow day for them is news on the day after Thanksgiving. They're ready to cover these kinds of events. Also, of course, Scouts love patches. This is the very first patch that we had in 2004 and the one that followed it right after the day after Thanksgiving. We use these patches and the Scouts love them. You'll see, again, they have loops on them. We found that it's really essential to have the loops really great. And the difference between the green and the gold signifies staff members. We give an additional patch to our staff members. Also, water bottles. 10 Commandment water bottles are a great keepsake. And you can keep them. You don't have to have a particular year, and they go from one year to the next. And it's a great opportunity to, again, use your logo of your hike to enforce, that this is a religious event. Now, I recommend having a police escort. We always get the sheriff's deputies from Orleans Parish to work with us, and they do it free of charge. We provide them lunch, and they love to be with us every year. Also, if you're going to have kosher food, something you have to keep in mind, you don't have to have kosher food. I find it's very helpful to enforce about eating religiously and why you would do so. And so what we'll do is we'll actually kosher a pot over the Thanksgiving holiday and until the water boils over till it's koshered, and then reheat our hot dogs. And it's a fantastic opportunity to enforce the whole idea of eating religiously. One of the things that we talk about is kosher food. One of our rabbis talked and gave a little talk about a particular commandment, and he heard that we were going to have kosher food. That's him right there. And Rabbi Linden said to the crowd, "Do you know why we have kosher food?" And the little girl there with the red shirt on with the purple jacket shot up her hand. She said, "It's because it says in the Bible, you shall not see the kid in its mother's milk." And the rabbi was amazed. He said, "How in the world did you know that?" She said, "I went on last year's hike." Anyway, I want to know that, that this is a great opportunity. The councils love this. And one of the main things that I wanted to make mention of, and John Lyon out in Atlanta will appreciate this. We got a call in one of our earlier hikes, and that somebody said, I like what you're doing with the 10 Commandments hike. I want to know about it. They came on our hike, and this is that scouter. She took that hike back with her to Atlanta, and we hope that other people got to enjoy possibly having their 10 Commandments hike in that area as well. And if not, at least we did try and we did pass it on. And I guess that's enough for my time today. I hope you enjoyed it.
Thanks.
Thanks, Alan. Let's go back to C.W. Kramer from Pittsburgh.
Thanks, Alan. How are you?
Good.
Okay, so we've already done the introductions. Howard Prager is going to be coming up. You want to?
I'm gonna stop my share.
Okay. All right. So all right. Okay, there we go. So can everybody see me now?
I can see you, and I can see where you're sharing.
Okay, and you can see the screen. Okay, so
Excuse me, it's very small. It's not taking the whole screen.
you need to click on speaker view.
Yeah, speaker view.
Speaker view. It's not going to automatically come up because I'm not sharing my screen. I'm just broadcasting it.
Okay.
So we do a 10 Commandment hike after the day after Thanksgiving on Black Friday, and every scouting event, as Alan said, deserves a patch. I want to call your attention to my address and my email address, and it's going to be on every slide that follows. So it'll be there for you to write it down. But if you'd like a patch, send me a self-addressed stamped envelope with a couple of stamps on it. And the more stamps you send, put on the envelope, the more patches I'll send you. But one of the things that's interesting that I want to call your attention to on these patches is you can go from serious to whimsical. The eighth 10 Commandment hike was when there was the conjunction between Thanksgiving and Hanukkah. So we had the dreidel coming out of Moses's back. And then we wanted the 12th annual hike to mix it up. It was basically a sight gag for Mel Brooks' History of the World, where I present the 10 Commandments. What a 10 Commandment hike is that we feel it's an opportunity to create great public relations, provides a critical mass of leaders, relatives, and friends who can spend the day, and it demonstrates to the public that scouting is still relevant. It allows for great press, television, and radio coverage. We do it to encourage the acceptance of the fact that other faiths have different beliefs, and not all, and all faiths should be respected. It's not about teaching tolerance; it's about teaching acceptance. It's if you say I'll tolerate your religion, that's a lot different than saying I'll accept your belief, your right to believe in your faith. It's a comparative religion course in a day. It's not a vehicle for proselytizing. It's about listening, learning, and asking questions for the other faith's belief. And we also use it as a setting to learn about current and past events: Kristallnacht, the Uyghurs, Ireland, the Crusades, the Berlin Wall, the USSR and religion, the Pilgrims, etc. And it's also an opportunity to celebrate and discuss the First Amendment. And we summarize that the Scout Oath and the Scout Law is about honor, integrity, and civility. And the clergy also likes that, and they repeat that concept. And we also encourage Scouts to earn their religious awards. It's an annual event. It's held on Black Friday again. It started in 2006. And amateurs borrow, professionals steal, and this started out on Long Island. So we just took a good idea and tried to make it a little better. We get between 350 and 500 attendees per year. I actually started as my wood badge diversity ticket goal. And the hike's 3.5 to 4 miles in length. We spend 15 to 20 minutes per location. We spend 2 minutes on the commandment, and the clergy spends 15 minutes on the dogma and the edifice architecture and questions and answers. Now, one of the things that we did this past year is we remembered the Tree of Life tragedy. And these patches were the Zachor Tikkun Yechad, were it was the message that Tree of Life was putting out for the year anniversary, because the 2019 hike was just 1 month after the first year anniversary, and we couldn't do anything with the patch in 2018, and we didn't really want to address it in any great detail because it was the funerals were still going on when the hike was going on. But in the same way, we have a patch for the speakers, the OA Service Corps, and the staff. We recognize the OA Service Corps in addition to the staff. So the hike starts at 8:30 in the morning, runs till 5. We start at Road of Sholem. We visit 8 to 10 houses of worship every year. We hire an organist and do organ recitals. We have it's a great opportunity for the Order of the Arrow to assist in leading and staffing the hike. Every participant gets a copy of the Constitution, and we have after and before off-site visits for faiths that aren't in the hike area. This picture is on the top is Road of Sholem, and we usually have the Order of the Arrow hold the Torah, but this year, because of Tree of Life as a statement of solidarity, we invited the clergy to come and hold the Torah as an honor for them. And this is one of my favorite pictures. A Zoroastrian, a Hindu, and a Jew, and a Buddhist monk walk into a bar. It's a good joke, but you make a lot of friends doing this, and lifelong friendships. So we've had over 18 faiths participate. We swap them in and out every year because there's only so much time. And if a picture says 1,000 words, a video says a lot more. And I just want to play you a 40-second video of what it's like to have an organist playing in a building where the entire room is an organ. So this is Heinz Chapel. It's on the University of Pittsburgh's campus. We sing patriotic songs and do organ recitals while people are walking in. They're in the programs. If you look at people's faces, when the bass starts kicking up right about now, you'll see they start looking around because it's just amazing what this organ sounds like, and it really adds a lot to the whole event. So we do this in 6 different locations. So I want to call your attention to this. Is the left is the back side of the program. The right's the front side. We visit a Hindu Jain temple, the Sikh Gurdwara. We stop at the Pittsburgh Buddhist Center. We also get the University of Pittsburgh. They have something called the Nationality Rooms. We get people discounted admission to those. The center room is the Israeli classroom. And we also make arrangements with the Phipps Conservatory to give free admission to anybody in a scout uniform. You'll notice on the front cover, we have the various calendars of the various faiths that keep time differently from the scouts. Every clergy member talked about the importance of the First Amendment, and oddly enough, they didn't focus on religious faith, they focused on freedom of the press. So a 12 points ride is a little different than a 10 commandment hike. It's a 10 commandment hike on bicycles instead of walking around. We talk about the 12 points of the Scout Law instead of the 10 commandments. And it's just an excuse to get people into other houses of worship. We had about 100 people do it each of the 2 years. and it conflicted with a lot of issues. There was never a good week. So since we couldn't get the type of attendance that we needed to make it sustainable, we just opted to go with the 10 Commandment hike. So how do you plan it? It's like herding cats dealing with clergy. You want to start 4 months before, line up the route and get commitments from the clergy, have a small 3-person working committee. The first time it takes about 20 to 30 hours to plan one. The second and subsequent year, it takes 12 to 16 hours, and it's on autopilot, so it's about 8 to 10 hours a year after that. You want to advertise in your local council newsletters, electronically. Contact the media and to do public service announcements. You want to enlist the Order of the Arrow. It's a great opportunity for the OA to show themselves doing service. They serve as the Pied Piper leading the hike. They'll bring 20 to scouts and adults with them, and it makes everything so easy. They function as advanced and sweep teams. They serve hot chocolate. We have everybody bring a bagged lunch, so we don't have to worry about kosher food, because the majority of the people who are doing this aren't Jewish anyway. So, and it's a Reformed synagogue, so we're not focused on the kosher food aspect. It's more delivering the program from an ecumenical standpoint. And you want to review last-minute logistics, use online registration and electronic check-in, and everything is going to be available that I've talked about as examples in the online packet, and my online packet will be uploaded tomorrow. And if for some reason it's not there when you go to get it, just drop me an email.
Thanks, CW.
And thank you.
Thank you very much. We're getting close to the end, and we want to give Howard Prager from the Northeast Illinois Council an opportunity to share as well. Howard, are you on mute?
Okay, thank you, Norm. I feel like I've got 3 minutes here to try to get through what I want. So I'm going to talk about, my colleagues did a great job, and the chat has been beautiful about all the things that the rest of you are doing. We're doing a virtual walk of faith. We've done 2 walks of faith in our council, and they've gone nicely. We've done longer than the ones that we've heard about. We spend 45 minutes to an hour in each location to really learn about the faith and have great discussion and questions. Different faiths each time. We're looking to go virtual this fall. Some of the advantages are just limitless online resources, and we have almost any faith truly any faith we want. Videos and maybe a gamification element. We can view knowledge before and afterwards. We're involving scouts in the planning. It's run by the Jewish committee and the Catholic committees, which are the 2 faith committees we have in our council. Disadvantages, we can't see, feel, hear, or taste really what's going on. And it's individual, not focused, not group focused. We're not walking, and our question is, will it be as impactful? So here's what we're looking to, and this was just decided last night. We want something fast because of all that's going on in the country. So we've set a goal of early August to be able to kick this off. We're going to give scouts an open the door introduction to 10 different faiths. And right now we've tentatively identified Judaism, Catholicism, you can read the list right there of faiths, including Native American, with short videos. We found a couple 1 to 2 minute videos introducing to each of these and their faiths. Our alternative is having a 10-minute Khan Academy TEDx talk on the 5 faiths. This is followed by a breakout with 4 to 6 scouts each to discuss and create a sentiment or prayer, and we'll conclude it with an interfaith campfire where each group shares what they created. But this is just the start. So we see this 30 to 45 minute event being a kickoff for a year-long, monthly, bi-monthly, quarterly event with greater details of each faith. We talked about many ideas that maybe one session is going to talk about the foods, and the other is going to talk about prayers, and others going to talk about celebrations and holidays, and the other is going to talk about ceremonies. So we're looking at lots of different options. Here's some resources that I'll have to find out how I can share them with you, but there's lots of stuff available online, including lesson plans and leaders guides that are available. So just so you know, this is all in the very beginning stages, but we're ramping up very rapidly to be able to offer something before kids go back to school. So on that, I'd like to just leave it open for ideas to make it better, questions that you want to know. So Norm, I'm trying to keep us on time here. How's that? Norm, I can't hear you.
Unshare your screen.
Okay, unshare my screen.
Norm's
Got it.
muted.
Thank you.
Norm, you're muted.
Norm, unmute yourself. Norm, unmute yourself.
So let's thank you, CW. Let's thank all of our presenters for the second half of our presentation today. There's been tremendous chat in the chat room. We really do need to finish so people can go on to others. I'll just remind you that tomorrow, on Thursday, we have our first session on Jewish-focused outdoor activities, such as Shomer Shabbat camping and trekking. And then we also have a session on international Jewish scouting, both in other countries and in the United States. So come back tomorrow at 10 o'clock Central, 11 o'clock Eastern. Meanwhile, thank you to you all. There were more than 50 open windows today, and we're going to finish now so people can move to the next course. Thank you again.
Good job, guys.
And yes, I recorded it. And yes, all of the slides will be in the Jewish resource folder that Amanda Vogt is putting together for everyone.
Thank
Good
you.
to see everybody. Thank
All
you.
right.
Thank you. See
Don't
you
forget
later.
to send me the envelopes if you want patches.
See you on Friday.
Just great, just great.
How you doing, Phil?